So what if you're in the mood for a romance show, but you also don't want to miss out on your dismemberment, your sword fighting, your giant monsters? Well, I got the perfect anime for you. It's called Kemonozume. Kemonozume came out in 2006, and it's from Studio Madhouse, and it was directed by Masaki Yuasa. Now, I know a lot of people know that name from some of his other works, which I believe came later on. Tatami Galaxy is a pretty big one, and Kaiba and Ping Pong the animation. I haven't seen any of those, but look out, future videos, those might be coming. So Kemonozume is about this world where it gives some backstory in the beginning of the show to when mankind, a portion of mankind became these like monster beings who fed on flesh. And for like centuries, there's been this sort of war between mankind and these flesh eaters. And there is a dojo in like present day Japan or whatever. I don't know what exactly year this takes place, but that called the Kifuken. I think I'm pronouncing that right. The Kifuken, and they are dedicated to kind of slaying these monsters and protecting humanity, as it were. And their main guy is this guy named Toshihiko. So I'm gonna try and the show has a lot of strange names, so I'll try it. But main guy here, Toshiko is he's the next in line to lead this clan, and he's an excellent swordsman, and he's really badass, and he's really good at killing these flesh-eating monsters, and he kind of goes about his justly duties as the next leader of this great powerful clan, and he thinks that what he's doing is definitely the right thing because he's keeping people from getting devoured because getting devoured kind of sucks. It doesn't look very appealing when you see people getting devoured by these flesh-eating monsters, and you do see that a lot in this series. So if you're like me and you're into like gore that is kind of like over the top to a point where it's sometimes silly, you're gonna really like Kemonozume because I sometimes I find it like kind of funny. And I'm the kind of guy that I'll watch something like a horror movie or something, not because I really enjoy horror movies, but because I enjoy some of the stupid, grotesque gore that it can have. I don't like when stuff is too over the top, but Kemonozume, it was perfect for me in that regard. But the show at its core is a love story, and there is buckets of blood all over the place and stuff like that, but the love story comes in when Toshihiko meets this girl named Yuka at like a beach. She was like skydiving, and she like lands on the beach like in front of him or something. I forget, but and so they meet, and he basically falls in love with her at first sight. And upon his like next meetup with her, they start this passionate, really romantic, heavy relationship, which at the time felt a little like rushed. But I guess it's only a 12-episode show, so maybe I kind of get why. But it felt like episode 1 they're already like banging, and it felt a little strange to me. I don't know, but hey, they love each other. I don't mean to get in the way of that, but. Yeah, so Toshihiko is really cool. He's really badass, but he's got a solid heart. He falls in love with this beautiful girl Yuka, who he meets at the beach, who is presumably just this normal girl, right? Well, wrong. She is actually a flesh eater. Flesh eaters do not constantly look like their like ogre-like appearances. They actually can sort of fit in with society. Sort of like the show. And these other shows I'm going to mention came out later. So, it reminded me of certain elements within Shiki and within Tokyo Ghoul, in the sense that it's kind of one of those shows that's like the monster isn't that bad kind of show, and humanity can be pretty fucked up at the same time, which I can appreciate that show too at a certain extent, but sometimes I feel like and Parasite's kind of in a similar vein. I can handle it to a certain extent, but sometimes, there's people that are eating monsters, and that's kind of wrong here. But, I could see past it when it's got such a solid romance that Kemonozume has. And the romance here is really solid. It's only 12 episodes long, but it feels very real. You get the sense that these two characters kind of need each other, and without each other, they're kind of incomplete. Toshihiko is at times like lost when Yuka's not around, and really strives just to be around her, and he feels a lot better about himself when she's around. And the same with Yuka, if not in a bigger sense, because she has this. She really hates what she is. She is a monster. She was born that way. She can't change it. She feeds on human flesh, and she has these terrifying claws, and she, you know, and she has to keep a very sharp attention to what she does, to the extent that, like, even when she's having sex with Toshihiko, and yes, there is a couple sex scenes in this anime. It's definitely not really safe for kids, but I mean, if you didn't get that from people being devoured already, but yeah, there's some nudity, there's some sex here, and Yuka, kind of has to control her emotions even while doing that, or else she will kind of go into this like outburst and turn into her monster form, which is very dangerous for everybody, especially Toshihiko, because he's right there just handling his business, as it were. But yeah, the relationship did feel very real. Excuse me. As real as it could be in this like fantastical setting where like you got humans versus monsters. It's like a sci-fi fantasy, like West Side Story or Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, where like these two ends of these two sides of the battle, can they come together with romance? And the anime covers a lot of like that kind of struggle, because Toshihiko is a respected member of his dojo, and Yuka, you find, I'm not spoil it here, but you find out some stuff about her past as a flesh eater, and there's, like I said, there's two different sides of this war that's been going on forever, and can love kind of stop this war, which I think is a cool premise. Now the show wasn't all golden for me. First of all, this was my first Masaki Yuasa show, and I kind of knew this going in that I probably wouldn't like it. But the animation is interesting, I guess. I have only seen like clips of his stuff online, and it's just I can't say that it's really poor animation. I feel like this is a video in itself. It's hard for me to say that like shows are poorly animated in terms of like I just might not like their style. And I don't really like his style. I don't like the way this really looks. Everything looks like super like not detailed and just like grainy and just like grungy. And I much prefer stuff like what Komixwave puts out with Makoto Shinkai and like Your Name and Garden of Words and 5 centimeters per second. And yes, I know that those are films and those have a huge budget, but unfortunately in my head when I think of animation I put it onto a high standard. And Yuasa stuff, while this was a very interesting anime, I didn't enjoy looking at it. I have a similar taste in Studio Trigger, which I'll get into another video. It's hard for me sometimes to get over animation that I don't like looking at. Some of the side characters here, they ranged from interesting to just like kind of pointless and boring, and they try to make you care a lot more about them than you did. There's some people from Toshihiko's past in the dojo. He's got like his brother there, and then there's this like other girl who wants to get with him, and I didn't really find myself caring about either of them. And honestly, the show gets kind of weird later on. I'd say like the second half or so, because yes, it is this cool like romance story, and there's a lot of action, and there's some humor in it too. A lot of the episodes have this like cold opening of different relationships between monster and human, or different like instances where like having a monster in like reality would be like a really weird thing, like people would just be getting devoured in the streets and stuff like that. I found those kind of humorous, and those are good. But so it's got this cool blend for most of the time, and then towards the latter half, once you get to know like who like the like villains are, because this show is one of those shows as well that's kind of, for a while, it's hard to define like who the villain is. But once you find out like who is the villain here and his like goals and stuff like that, it just seems kind of like far-fetched and like kind of like an ass pull to me. I don't know. And they introduce some characters that are just strange, and I don't know. It gets really like weird at a point. There's like this monkey guy, and I mean he's in the show a lot of the time, but every time he's on screen, just some like weird shit's happening, and I don't know. It felt kind of like out of place in like an actiony, romancy kind of show. But overall, I did really like Kemonozume. I would highly recommend that you watch it. I don't think that it's licensed, but I would definitely recommend that you give it a stream. And I'm going to be checking out some more. It made me intrigued to watch more Masaki Yuasa. And if you're into like actiony stuff, if you're into romancy kind of stuff, it's only 12 episodes. You can probably watch it in like a day or maybe 2 days or whatever. So yeah, go check out Kemonozume, and please go check out my blog. Enter the Miasma. I'm going to link it down below in the description. And if you like what I'm doing here, please check out some of my other videos. I talk about like anime, gaming tech, a whole bunch of different stuff. And you know, what did you guys think of Kemonozume? Let me know down below. Do you disagree with me? Do you think it's the greatest anime of all time? Did you really hate it? Let me know. Yeah, as always, this is Miasma from Gyre Media, signing out.